If all you're doing is replacing your existing customers, something's wrong with the business, right? The business should be growing over the long term. The line should trend upward. And if you are stagnant year over year, then like we know, your money has less value than last year. Hey, welcome back to the Lightspeed Lawn Care Marketing Podcast. I am your host, as always, Cody Owen. And recently I recorded a video talking about why most landscaping companies fail in the long term. And it is my contention, my argument, that the reason that most companies fail is either like a big pricing issue that they can't get around, they can't scale themselves out of, or, and I think this is the majority, is they don't build a marketing machine, a system in their business. They don't figure out how to start building systems around the core components of the business so that they are replaceable, and they burn themselves out, they bite off more than they can chew, and they collapse under their own weight because they didn't put in the work to figure out how to not do the work themselves. So long-term success in the lawn care business looks like what you want from the business. So that's going to be a little bit different for everybody, but I think in general it looks like providing for yourself and your family, making a good living, taking care of your guys, and providing top-notch service to your customers. I think everyone enjoys the pride of a job well done. And so we want to have those systems worked out, right? And then figure out how to hand them off to crews so that you can focus on building out the business. Now, on the office side, the systems that you're going to build out are things around hiring and employee retention, managing customers and customer service. And then the marketing side is super, super important to build a system around. So if you're not growing, you're dying. And that is a terrifying reality for a lot of businesses, but attrition, if all you're doing is replacing your existing customers, something's wrong with the business, right? The business should be growing over the long term. The line should trend upward. And if you are stagnant year over year, then like we know, your money has less value than last year. Inflation is, you're seeing all these headlines about it, but it is a fact of life, even when we're not experiencing a boom of inflation. And so I want you to be not just barely scraping by. I want you to be successful in your lawn care and landscaping business. And the only way you can do that is with long-term planning and mapping out your path for growth. Are you ready to have a website that is effective, reliable, and at a reasonable price? With a website from Green Frog Web Design, they offer free unlimited updates, free website hosting, a free domain name, free Google My Business optimization, and monthly updates included. And this will give you a website that's 1 to 5 pages, all for one monthly price of $245. No lump sum upfront payment required. Green Frog guarantees that your website will be live in 3 weeks from their projected start date, or it is free for a year. Now, this sounds a little bit nebulous, but what that means is I think Paul has an episode about SMART goals, and I have not listened to it yet, but I saw that it came out, and I can tell you that having SMART goals, it's all about making them be measurable, attainable, all of that sort of thing. Those are super valuable to put before you in your business, and to have, short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals for the business, and breaking things down into tiny actionable steps and going after them. It's much easier to say, okay, if my goal is to, next year have added $100,000 in lawn care maintenance or in this particular project, it's much easier to break that down by, we need to sell this many this month to be on track to hit that goal. That is way more attainable. And then you can even say, okay, then that means if we need to sell that 16 this month, that means we need to sell 4 this week. And that means that I've got 3 days that I don't have to sell one, right? So I get 2 on a day. That changes it a little bit, but breaking that goal down until it is tiny, and you eat the elephant one bite at a time. So map out your plan for growth. And then I've got a question written here that's, how can long-term marketing help a landscaping company become the top choice in its area? I've talked about this a bunch of times. This is the brand transition you make as a service provider. This is building your marketing system and your brand so that, you may not be able to be Coca-Cola, right? You're not going to be the thing people think of when they think of liquid. But what we can do is make it where in the neighborhoods that you dominate, 5, 10, 15 subdivisions that you own, when you are their Coca-Cola when it comes to lawn care. When they think of lawn care, when they think of the work that you do, they think of you immediately. That's what I want you to be. There is a clip from a movie called Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. It's a concert film documentary spoof from Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island guys. But there is a moment where the main character's publicist is saying,
I'd love to get Connor to the point where he's just kind of everywhere, like oxygen or gravity or clinical depression. He's just everywhere.
And that is what I want you to be in your subdivisions. When those people think about lawn care, I want thinking of your company's name to be as natural to them as taking their next breath. And that sounds like a little silly and a little nebulous, but you can do it. There are plenty of businesses in the service industry that, think about it, everybody has a plumber, everybody has an HVAC guy. No one is, when they have a problem with their air conditioner, the first time they have a problem, they do some research, they find a guy, but then that's who they go back to over and over. And if you watch Nextdoor and those kind of neighborhood apps, neighborhood groups on Facebook, you'll see there are people who are evangelists for their lawn guy. They're evangelists for their HVAC company. When someone asks for a recommendation, they had such a positive experience that they spread it in their neighborhood. And that is exactly the kind of customer base we need to build up. And that looks like, treating them super, super well over many years. All right, let's talk about making your marketing plan for long-term growth. I talked about this a little bit in our YouTube video this week. And also, I've talked about it, making your marketing plan for 2023 back at the beginning of the year. That'll be a super valuable resource for you if you're serious about doing this. But the big thing is to break the year up into quarters. And then, you want to look ahead to next year and the next. These are repeatable things that you can do. And those are the most high value things in your plan, are the things that you're going to reuse every single year. So you can think about things in their long-term value. When you put in a bunch of work on an email campaign to upsell, palettes of color this year to your clients, it is long-term incredibly valuable to you. That work is going to appreciate over time, right? So right now it might be, $200 an hour work. This is a thing that we used to talk about a lot when I worked on the Lawn Care Millionaire channel. We would talk about, there's $20 an hour work that's pushing the mower. There's $100 an hour work that's managing and kind of those kinds of office tasks that are valuable. But then there's, you keep ascending that list. There's $200 an hour work. There's $1,000 an hour work. And so the first year that you work on those email campaigns, it might come out to, it was worth about $200 an hour of your time to put together that email campaign. You sold a lot of palettes of color, but it was only, $200 an hour. But that work is done, right? You can use that campaign next year and the year after, and that the time that you invested in it is only going to increase in value over time. So that is a really awesome way to think about how to plan ahead and figure out what parts of your marketing plan are super specific to right now, and so are maybe the least valuable. If you are in a cash flow bind or something, they could be super valuable because they mean the business continues to exist. But if you are not in some kind of bind, try not to focus on immediate fires. Focus on the things that are going to be of long-term value to the business, to your marketing process year over year. And obviously you'll come back and revisit those emails when you've learned more about writing and you've gotten more skilled there. You might come back in, tweak some things, but in general, those things are kind of set and done once you've done them. So you want to figure out what is realistic for your business. You've built out this annual calendar, which is what I talked about in the YouTube video and in the planning video. You've built out this annual calendar of services. You've backed into when you need to be selling them. And so then what you want to think about is, okay, what are realistic goals for these things? Set targets for yourself. Look at how many upsells you made on that campaign last year, and make sure that you are confident that whatever you've done this year is 20, 30, 40% better than what you did last year. Try to tie your goals to how much you think you've improved in your sales process, in your marketing. Maybe we've got Facebook ads going out this year. We didn't have any last year. So we know that we're hitting our list with that. We're hitting them with 6 emails. We only sent 3 last year. And our photos are better this year because we were conscious last year and we took before and after pictures. So you want to start hunting for ways to be ambitious in your marketing. And that looks like trying things you haven't done before. There are so many things that you can do before and after photos for your Facebook ads. Maybe you're going from still images for your Facebook ads to things that move using Canva. Look for the next step, the next thing you can try in your marketing. Moving to a cooler, flashier thing in your marketing doesn't always pay off, right? Sometimes you test something and you find out, man, that sucked and we're not going to do it again. But there's value in that because you're still honing your skills and you're testing to see what works. And for everything that doesn't work, think about it like, venture capital firms invest in thousands of companies. And the bet is that, 2 to 3%, fingers crossed, are going to be like moonshot successes and they're going to, 100x their return. So, and that makes up for all of the crappy investments and a bunch of other things. So you can be a little more targeted. You can look for people with more experience. You're not entirely flying blind. You're watching our YouTube channel. You're listening to our podcast. So you can hear from us like the things that we're seeing are working around the country with the lawn care businesses and landscaping businesses that we work with. So you're not just like throwing darts blindfolded. You can choose things that you hear work and then test and see if they work in your market with your ideal customer. Okay, what should be in your long-term marketing plan? System to get referrals and reviews. This is so important. I cannot overstate to you how important it is. This is not relying on word of mouth. I whined about this a lot in the YouTube video, so if you've already watched that, I don't want to do it to you again because I whine a lot about guys who say their marketing is word of mouth. That is not marketing. A referral system rewards customers in a one-to-one way. You bring us a customer, we give you a widget. Whatever that looks like, free service, a discount on future service, whatever it is. Automating review collection. Now, part of this should be you could have an email sequence that reaches out to people to ask how things are going after you've serviced the property 2 or 3 times. That's a really powerful way. If they say everything's going great, then you just respond with a Google review link. You can even do it if you really, really want to automate it and not be involved at all. What you can do is say, hey, if things are going great, would you write us a 5-star review? We'd really appreciate it. And if there's any problem, we want to make it right so that you feel comfortable writing us a 5-star review. And then they can reply to you and tell you about their problem and you fix it. And then you get a 5-star review. And if everything's fine out the gate, they will just, some percentage of them will go write that 5-star review for you. But that's really powerful. And you want to get people when you're top of mind. So right after you've started service, they've experienced it a couple of times and they can feel comfortable writing that review honestly. The next thing is ads and systems to get new leads 24/7, 365. So I don't want you to have to be, distributing 20,000 flyers yourself every year for the rest of your life until your knees give out, right? I want you to be building digital advertising systems that replicate those physical strategies because that's something your clicking fingers not going to give out for a long, long time, long before or long after your knees give out and you don't want to be walking 30,000 steps to deliver flyers. So you want that system built out. You need your Google ads that are a little broader but more intent driven, and then you want your Facebook ads really targeted, focused on the subdivisions where you want to increase density because that serves elsewhere in the business, right? If we're thinking about our marketing, we want to make sure that it's getting us the touches we need with the right people and serving the other interests of the business. And the biggest thing that we want to attack in our marketing is ways that we can eliminate windshield time. Any unpaid time that we have for our employees, we want to make sure that we're driving that down as much as possible so that we can continue employing people in the future. If we keep things profitable, we can keep our guys on, we can keep them on longer, we can pay them better so we have better employees, better quality for customers, and that increases customer retention. All of this is a big feedback loop of good things. The more good things you put into that system, the more they all pay dividends to each other. And then we want to have ads and campaigns to upsell existing clients. I talked about this a little bit at the top when I was talking about having email campaigns that are really targeted for specific upsells and then tracking that over time. We want to grow the lifetime value of our existing clients. You can upload a client list to Facebook as a custom audience and then target those customers with upsells. So that's really valuable as well. to get in front of them on Facebook for really, really cheap. If we're talking a client list of, less than 1,000 people, you can get in front of all of them for like less than $2 a day. And then you're hitting them a bunch of times there. You're getting in their email inbox. You're keeping it top of mind. You're showing them on Facebook and in the email what their lawn could look like if they went with this service. Again, before and after pictures are secret sauce. Use them as much as you can. All right, potential challenges and obstacles that landscapers may face when implementing a long-term growth strategy. It's hard to get it right the first time, right? You're going to be experimenting. You're going to be figuring out what you need to do in the future. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to improve things. You're going to improve things a couple times and then make another mistake. And you don't know what you don't know, and you have to learn. You're tuning into a resource like this, which is awesome. That really helps you figure out what you don't know and point you in the right direction, hopefully. And it's harder if you don't know a lot about marketing, and that's why it's really important to partner with someone like Lightspeed Social, the team here. We know lawn care and landscape marketing. You don't have to teach us the benefits of aeration. I've said that a million times on the channel. We know the industry. And so that means that when we come in, we're able to just dive in and implement the strategies that we promote here on the show. There's a free strategy session with our team that you can book at any time. We've got the scheduling link down in the description. That is a personal call with me if you want to talk to me about your marketing. Even if you are not at a place where you can hire an agency, I still love to hear from listeners and viewers about that. So there will be a link in there that gets you right on my personal calendar. I would love to talk to you. I know it's the busy season, so if I understand if you don't have time at the moment, but if you make that time, I think it's going to be really valuable to you in the long term. Yeah, okay, I think that's everything. I might leave this in. I think I went through the whole outline. Okay, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a subscribe, give us a like. You watched all the way to the end of the video. I think it was probably pretty valuable to you. And then if you are listening in a podcast app, please leave us a rating and a review wherever you are listening. That will help more people find out about the show. More lawn care business owners, hopefully not your competitors, will hear about the show and they'll learn better ways to market their business. So you can do that. It helps me out. It helps them out. And hopefully it makes you feel good. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week.